Hi, Marlene. How are you?
Hi.
How is
Okay.
in Ireland today?
It is better. It's been raining non-stop for a week and it's not raining today, so that's a good start.
People never believe me when I say like it literally rains non-stop in Ireland. They're like, no way. I'm like, no, for real, it does.
It's been like biblical rain,
Yeah.
like floods, some
So I wanted to get you on, and I have a few other guests lined up, just talking about how we're all surviving the pandemic and trying our best. And I thought it would be nice to get another point of view from someone in Ireland. And not everyone will know that you are my sister, but yes, you are my sister. And like everyone, I'm right now hiding in my bedroom trying to record this because my whole family is home and I just can't get a minute's peace since I think March. And you are hiding out somewhere away from your family too. And we just see this happening everywhere, all over YouTube, all entrepreneurs, business people just trying to get stuff done wherever they can get away from kids, husbands, animals, whatever it is. So I wanted to get an update off you, and how have you been feeling through the pandemic? How have you guys managed to survive?
well, initially I think the I suppose it was something new and something different. Even though everyone was in lockdown, people were just getting on with it, making the most of it. It was a change, it was a rest from the office. So you could stay at home and take the day at your own pace, get up, not have to sit in traffic. Like I presume it's the same where you are. The commutes here on what we call the M50, which is the big highway, is the Irish car park, so people could sit on that car park for maybe an hour. Luckily, I don't live too far from the office, but you would still spend 30 minutes each way. So it's great, and it was great not having to get up so early and sit in the traffic and do your makeup and worry about what you're wearing and everything. You just got up, got yourself ready, did your work, took your breaks when you needed to take them, and then back to work. But the glamour of that soon wore off because the kids are at home full time, and the husband's home full time, and the cat is home full time, and the neighbors are home. And particularly with work and the type of work that I do, where a lot of stuff is done in email and through instant messaging, because generally when you're in the office you're off at meetings or you're running around, but because you're at your desk and everybody else is at their desk at home, people have more time to email you, and they've more time to message you and text you and phone you. So it kind of felt like, and it still feels like, and I know from talking to colleagues, that there's no let up. You're constantly available now, and you might take a longer than normal break, and then you'll finish work at standard time between like 4 and 5 p.m. Then you get the dinner on, then you get the kids ready, etc. And then you find yourself going back to your emails. So it's harder because you never turned off. Whereas if you're in an office, you leave your work there and you go home. So initially it was great because it was something different, but now it's a bit of a, it's becoming a struggle, in particular because the kids are home all the time. You try to have a conference call, but you have them knocking at the door, you have them under your armpit, and then the cat's walking across the laptop and people are like, oh, there's a cat on the call. um so it's lost its shine now, but luckily the kids are going to school on the 31st, so that's at least 3 hours of the day uninterrupted work that I can get done, and then try and cope with the rest of the day.
And it's funny what you say is we right now I feel like we're doing more in a day because there's no let up. It's nonstop go. But then when you sit down at the end of the day, you feel like you've accomplished nothing because throughout the day you're trying to work but you're also doing dishes. You're trying to work but then someone needs their bum wiped in the bathroom. You're trying to work but then someone knocks at the door and then something breaks or someone spills something, and at the end of the day you're like, I actually didn't do anything I intended to do. Where has the day gone?
Yeah, and particularly you've done nothing for yourself. Like everything I do is either part of my job or parenting or just doing our own personal admin, car insurance, banking, whatever it might be. And then it's the kids are, yeah, full on breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, clean up after me, I'm bored, etc., etc. So particularly even now to this day since March, I've done very little for myself, which I'm trying to regain a bit of that now, because the longer we go through the pandemic, you can tell that things are never going to be the same again. Um, so like my office may never be full time ever again. So even that for me is my time because I'm not being harassed by mini terrorists. I have like grown up terrorists where I can, walk away from them, where I can't walk away from the children. Um, so yeah, need to find the balance.
Yeah, and that's very true. The what I've seen is with a lot of my clients and even with myself, one, it's hard to prioritize taking time for yourself because you're constantly on, but when you're not on, then you have this mom guilt kick in. And tell me if you experience this, but because you're trying to work at home and do everything else that you would normally do when you're alone, now you have kids in front of
Mm,
TV or on games, and now you're like, oh, mom guilt, that's unhealthy for them. They shouldn't be doing that. They've been on TV
mm,
for 5 hours now. Now I have to take them for a walk, and then you're trying to keep them occupied. And I found for in the beginning, I had the mom guilt because of all the stress, and then I started to let up on it. Like, this is not doing anyone any good. Me feeling guilty is making me cranky with the kids. Then I'm getting irritable and I'm stressing. But a lot of moms, a lot of people experiencing that.
yeah, still to this day, the irritability still sets in. Like today is Sunday, obviously Sunday there also. And we had quite a lazy day, and just the kids just watched movies and painted and things like that. And then I constantly had in my head, we have to go for a walk. What time is Paris work closing at? We need to go for a walk. And my husband was like, we don't need to go anywhere. The kids are fine, they're happy, they're watching up and they're playing and they're fine. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but and then I just relaxed and I didn't do anything. I just had a little walk myself. But yeah, it's that constant guilt. You need to be doing things. I think at the start of the pandemic, there was a lot more support, maybe in my community and perhaps in your own community. People were sharing ideas and tips on how to keep the kids occupied. So there's a lot of arts and crafts and games and stuff happening. But if I never see a crafts box for the next year, it'll be too soon. Because I think we're all crafts out of it now. But it was
Yeah,
that guilt that you have to be doing something with them.
yeah, yeah,
So kids are allowed, and I think there's been some studies on it, but you need to give almost structured board time or allow kids to be bored and go and find and do their own thing. And that makes me feel better about when they are sitting off there watching kids YouTube or whatever, because they're fed, they're healthy, they're clean, they're in a safe environment. If that's all you're doing, you're winning. You don't have to be like Martha Stewart and be doing all sorts of caking and baking and whatever with them.
Yeah, and I think some of those videos added to the guilt as well because, as
Mm.
you know, I'm not big into the crafts. I'm like, here's a coloring book and here's some crayons. Color in your favorite picture. And then you have all these moms making these extravagant cakes and dream catchers and stuff for their garden. And I'm like, I feel so inadequate. Like, should I
Mm.
be doing this? I don't even have time to do this. So there's definitely a lot of reflection that's been happening over the last while, good and bad, I think. But I wanted to
Mm.
come back to what you mentioned about taking care of yourself. Obviously, this is a health podcast, and what I've noticed since March here, March 16th, I believe, was when schools closed and everything hit the fan here. And
Mm.
in the beginning, I understand everyone was stressed. We didn't know our left from our right. Oh my God, is the world going to blow up? Is everyone going to die? Like, we didn't know. The biggest thing for me was, oh my God, they're not going back to school. Like that, and that sounds like quite selfish of me, but
Mm.
I'm not ashamed to say, like, I need my time. If I need to take care of myself, I need my space. If I'm to be good for anyone else, if I'm to be at the top of my game for my clients, for my kids, for anyone that needs me, I need to take care of myself. And that whole kids being home 24/7 really took its toll. Now, I know it didn't take its toll as much on me as it did on other people, and that's just my
Mm.
personality. I'm very structured and disciplined in some areas, but I did see a lot of people after the panic stage then kicked in more of the sadness and depression stage. Then it was more, let's just survive stage, let's just get
Mm.
through this. And then people stopped taking care of themselves as much, some on purpose, but not all on purpose. Some people just couldn't. It was just a big fluster. Nobody knew, like, what can I do, where can I do it, like, pretty much what the hell is going on and when is this shit gonna stop. That was it. So tell me about, like, taking care of yourself. What have you experienced in the last, I think it's about 24 weeks now, in regards to your health and how you feel yourself?
Yeah, I think it's been 5 months. Let me see, March, April, May, June, July, August, give or take 5 to 6 months since I went into lockdown in Ireland because it was the start of March and I had been ill the previous week, so I was off work anyway. And I think as I said, it was all new and it was a change and it was something different and it was a novelty being stuck at home and locked down. And I think certainly the restrictions that we had, which I imagine were quite similar to yours, so we could only go a certain radius, the gyms shut down, offices, everything shut down. So it enforced a slower pace on people, to chill out and stop doing so much. Um, so the novelty of that at the beginning was great because I remember being in the room one day cleaning up, thinking, absolutely love that I don't have anywhere to be. I haven't committed to anybody that I have to be somewhere. Play dates, coffee dates, family, whatever it was. I just love not having to commit. But then I start obviously missing the adult conversation, the one-to-one, the banter, the chats, the crack with my friends, people in work, people at just friends in general. So you kind of have to, like you said, you're very structured and disciplined, where other people aren't. I'd be slightly laissez-faire in that approach. So you have to force yourself. So at least once a week, and I said, and it probably sounds really not enough time, but I would meet my friend or my cousin or whoever it might be and just not have to deal with children. But at the beginning, I'd done lots of kind of things for myself. I took back up yoga. I started getting into like meditation and crystal circles. So I like joined a community of women who just kind of meditated together, and we talked about crystals and the cycle of the moon and things like that. So I thought that time was great, but then the downside of that was the guilt of I'm not spending, it was silly, like an hour, I'm not spending an hour pandering to my children, or I could hear them, and then the influx of of hearing them was enough to kind of set me off being irritable or stressed or something, because I had to do these things at home. I think when it comes to health and fitness, which being massive on your mental health, I've started again taking up those solo walks because our gyms aren't open. Some private gyms are open, but you would have to join as a new member. Whereas in my office, I have a big free gym, and my husband's gym hasn't reopened yet, which is bizarre. Whereas other people have. So I think when my daughter's doing her summer camp, I'll drop her off in the morning and I go straight for the walk. Because if you don't almost pencil in and structure that time in, you just won't do it. You get too lazy. So I'm finding it harder now than I did at the start, because I was full of positivity and energy, and oh, this is an opportunity to become a new person. Whereas this is life now. And the stresses of the, I suppose, the permanency of being at home at work, the office not being fully open. The kids will be starting school, so hopefully that'll alleviate some of the stresses. But yeah, I'm personally finding it a bit harder now than I did at the beginning. So just really need to give. I have a couple of weeks on holidays now, which is great. So a good kick up the bum
You
to
can curse on this podcast.
the arse, as we say in Ireland, up just to dedicate the time to myself. I don't know, yours are obviously that much older. Mine are like 3 and 5. That guilt is constantly there, that if you're not dedicating your 24 hours of your day to them, even that 1 hour off that you take for yourself, if you find it hard to wind down and enjoy it. So I'm personally going to take a full 24 hours to myself in the next week, because there's a new retreat open beside us, and I'm going on my own.
And I know
Nobody
I
else.
encourage that decision.
Yeah, and it's all healthy eating, etc. But there will be wine had, because that is
A
not to be
reward.
consumed regularly, but as a treat to chill out.
It's more of a reward at this stage, I think, for keeping people alive.
Yeah, as I
So,
said, they're alive. I'm winning. That's the main thing.
so, so that structure, though, if the kids go back to school, like our kids are going back to school on Wednesday, September 2nd, so you actually get a few days ahead of us. But that structure is so important for moms that are going to be stuck at home. At least in that time, you can focus on what needs to be done. So by the time the kids come back, you have a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you can drop the
Mm.
kids to school and you can go straight for your walk, clear your head, and that's going to set your day up strong. And with the day that you're taking to yourself, the 24-hour day, I know we discussed it, and I mentioned I do this, and I've done it for years, where I'll take either a day just to myself, and I'll say I am selfish. That day is mine, or I'll book myself into a hotel for a night by myself. I've done it loads of times, and
Mm.
I come back a better person. I feel better. I've had the rest.
Mm.
In the beginning, there was mom guilt, but now it's like what I said, you cannot pour from your cup if your cup is empty.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a necessity.
not only do we give birth and put dinner on the table and everything, but all the little things for someone to take, for a mom to take, and dads too, because there are a lot of dads in this boat too, for someone to take time to themselves, that doesn't make you a bad person. If anything, it makes you a good person, because you're being proactive and you're preventing something worse from happening down the line if you
Mm.
don't get that well needed break. Like, we've all got to that stage where you're like, oh my god, I'm going to fucking kill someone, I can't deal with this. It's like we've all got to that. But if you scheduled in every couple of months, something that you can look forward to, and you know, it's okay, I'm going to get this break in a week or two. It's okay. It kind of gives you that bit of hope and a reward for doing so well for the previous week. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, obviously I know, but I want to give the audience a bit of a update because I know many people are going to relate to what you say, and it's hard for people to relate to what I say because of one, I'm a teacher, I lead by example, but I am quite disciplined. But when over the last couple of months, how how are you finding the struggle in making choices for your health in regards to nutrition? So the activity we get is hard, you have kids under your feet, you don't have the structure to plan and go to a yoga class or go to the gym or go to a walk. But then when it comes to food choices, I see a lot of people like they are literally just, fuck it, I don't care, I'm stressed, I need this wine or I need this chocolate, or like they do know better, but there's something there that's like, God, I just need to get through this day.
Yeah. And that's called being human. And I think you should be allowed to do that when you need to, because it will stop you from murdering an entire village of people. So, yeah, like again, it's like a roller coaster. For me, it's been a roller coaster. And you know, for years, it's like a roller coaster. I like yin and yang and up and down and whatever. At the beginning, I was doing like the yoga, the Pilates, doing HIIT classes, watching the diet, the weighing in and everything, because I was conscious that a lot of people, but it wasn't me at the beginning, but I'm conscious that a lot of friends and all were, you know, putting on a lot of unnecessary weight when they've been quite fit, because we were so used to having the classes and work and everything going. I'm just being more active in general. So at the beginning, I was really good. Then, as the months went on, and it got a lot more stressful, I personally fell back into bad habits, and old habits, because like that, come the end of the day, and the kids finally go to sleep, you're like, you know, you're just completely worn down. You're completely broken down, and it's not as if, you know, everything's closed. Like things have only started to open up here in Ireland. Like the restaurants are back open, but you have to, you know, you have to go and eat. The pubs and things where you meet people socially, all that stuff is still closed. Even the swimming pools are closed, and I would love to go for a swim. So in the evening, it's like, okay, I'll sit down and watch a movie. And then you're like, you know what? I'm a bit peckish. I'll have a pack of meanies, or have some chocolate or whatever, or a glass of wine. So that became certainly a regular habit on the weekends. And then, as you know, like personally, you know, my sleep can be poor in that I get enough sleep, I just don't go to bed at a good time. So I'd end up staying up late. And I wouldn't even be eating or drinking or anything, but I'd just be like, I feel like I deserve this time to sit up and watch this movie, because if I'd had to deal with them all day long and I get no time to me, and I want to watch Humans or catch up on the 27 Marvel movies that I watched during lockdown. Marvel Pro now. So, but now the past 3 weeks, for me, I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Nothing's changing. This is the new world now. The office will be opening up soon again. Do you want to fit into those clothes that you used to be able to fit into? And I, for many years, struggled with IBS and just not celiac, but gluten intolerance. So starchy foods, breads, um, anything with flour really has an impact on me. And that was kind of creeping in. You know, you'd have a slice of toast in the morning because you didn't have the time or patience to be preparing meals. So now I'm 3 weeks in, we're completely gluten free, and my mood is improved. I've started back kind of on the supplement buzz that I have been on. So I'm back in taking my vitamin C, my zinc and things like that, to try to get me back, because I lost me for a few months during the lockdown because everything was just a haze. But for me, and I'm sure a lot of people, particularly working parents, you know, we thrive on structure. So I know that the kids are going back. I'm getting those 3 days extra. Life is getting back to normality. So I need to get my health and my nutrition back in order as well, because I can't keep going on with the bad habits when the structure comes back in, because then the pieces just don't fit together, if you know what I mean. So I'm at the good point of the roller coaster now, and I hope to keep it steady. Obviously, and I think certainly the winter months, I know winter's a lot harder for you guys there, but come November, December here, it's party season. You know what I mean? There's Christmas parties, there's friends parties, there's catch-ups, there's a party every weekend. And that won't be happening this year because of the pandemic. Like the bars and the pubs and stuff they're not, I can't see, like the numbers here are not getting better. So I can't see those types of things happening. They're not going to allow large crowds and stuff together. So that's going to be a good thing for people who struggle with their health and nutrition if they're out binging every week, you know, that way. So yeah, it's a roller coaster.
I think that could be a double-edged sword, though, coming into winter and not getting the party season, in a sense that people already may suffer with seasonal affective disorder and they're not getting that outlet anymore. I know a lot of people look forward to the Christmas parties here for sure because it's so cold. Not many people like to go out walking in the snow or skiing, but they look forward to the parties and meeting their family. So we just have to see how this is going to play out. Like, I'm hopeful that it starts to improve, but we'll see. But contrary to what you said in the beginning, I saw a lot of clients and a lot of people in the beginning, they just ate to comfort themselves and to get through the day, just ate because eating certain foods like our carbs and our chocolate and our wine, it gives us a hug. It says it's okay, you're doing okay, you're surviving. And a lot of people did that, and then come June, July, people are like, oh shit, now I've put on 20 pounds that I didn't want. Now my clothes don't fit. Now I'm not sleeping. Now I've aches and pains everywhere from inflammation, or my mood is low. Depression kicks in because of everything. But the food choices played a big part in all of that. And then they start to say, okay, we better get our act together now. But bad habits have been created, so for some people it can be a bit tougher to kind of get back on track per se. But I wanted to ask, with the food choices you made through the pandemic, like when it was at its worst, when you were most stressed, what negative biomarkers did you see being impacted on your body, like inflammation, dry skin, heavy menstrual cycle, like stuff like that? Like, how did it impact you in your health? So these are our biomarkers where we can say, oh shit, my poop looks like tagliatelle, I am inflamed.
My mood, that's a big tell for me, and I'm sure it is for other people. And I know a lot of people, talking with my friends in particular, that they didn't realize that food has such an impact on your mental health, particularly sugar, and particularly late night sugar. So what myself and my husband do, and 80 to 90% of the time we're really good at it, is that we fast from 7:30 p.m. till I could go till 10 till 12 p.m. the next day. So if I don't eat well, or I eat late, particularly during the height of it, God, you couldn't even look at me before 10 in the morning. I'd be on calls, and luckily you could switch the video off. I'd have the coffee and I'd be like, nobody talk to me. Just let me do my work. I don't want to talk to anybody before 10 o'clock. And that's purely because of, for me personally, sugar. You know, if I had an alcoholic drink, or whatever it might be, late, I feel the impact of it the next day. So I have to be very careful with that. And particularly with my husband as well. Like you feel hungover the next day. You just feel like groggy and miserable.
Mhm.
Um, and I find as well, if the more kind of clean eating I eat, I have better clarity. So I can get quite foggy. My head will be quite foggy. I can't, um, like I'm tired now because the kids are only going to sleep. But you can tell, like I can't really get my words out that I want to say. So if I take my EPA fish oils, for example, and I'm clean eating, I can fire out thesaurus of words at you. But if I'm eating terrible, I'm
Yes
like
and no.
I'm just trying to get my through the day. So yeah, what I find some days is I'll start a response to somebody over something and then I'll walk away from it. And you come back to it an hour later and you have a different view in the world. So you don't hit send on that button. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have to mind yourself. And then just in general, if you eat crap and you've got IBS, you look 7, 8 months pregnant.
Mm.
And particularly during my menstrual cycle. So the other day I was right at the height of it and I had my period. And my daughter is only 5 and she's curious about these things. So I explained to her, like I don't hide it from her. So I explained to her what's happening. And I was telling her, oh, this is what happens when mommy's not having a baby, blah, blah. And she's like, but mommy, your belly looks like you're having a baby. Like, I know. I was like, were you talking to your Auntie Shemaine? Were you? Did she tell you these things? So I said, no, no, that's not it. I said, I ate too much food. On that particular day, I ate too much food. And she was like, oh, you need to stop eating and drinking so much. And I was like, she's walking out of you. It's you. So yeah,
Uh,
but the bloated. So the fogginess, the bloatedness, and just the general mood. My skin has been better than ever during the pandemic, lockdown, everything. Because like we live up a mountain in Wicklow, as you know, in a beautiful part of Wicklow. Periscope Gardens is our back garden. It's a lovely place, but nowhere delivers this way. So you guys have Uber Eats and whatever it is. So nobody really comes up here. And the only places that do are pizza, which I don't eat because it affects me so badly. So we didn't eat takeaway for months on end, which was great. So that obviously helped with my skin. Not being in the office with the air conditioning, the fluorescent lights, the dirty tables, um, all of those things. So my skin hasn't been infected. My skin's been better than ever because of no makeup or any of that crap. It's um just mental health. The food, particularly sugary foods, has a very I'm very sensitive to it. And then, as you know, my menstrual cycle is influenced heavily by what I put into my body and if I'm not moving enough. So because obviously I have personal access to you and your knowledge, which is great. You've helped me a lot. And this particular month, I had like 2 days my cycle, and it was gone. Like the first day wasn't great, but then it just didn't last. It went away because I was on top of my supplements. I was doing more exercise, and as I said, I've been completely clean, gluten-free eating for the past few weeks. So, but if I fall back into old habits, then as you know, I could be bedridden for days. So,
mhm.
and I'm trying to avoid taking any hormones of any kind because they just make me feel miserable. So, um, I'm committed to looking after myself and my health and nutrition so I don't have to introduce any man-made products into my body.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think what you're saying about the sugar, the alcohol, all that, it affects everyone. Like you're a very special person, but you're no exception to the rule.
Mm.
Everybody, but most people don't recognize it until they clean their act up. that having even half a glass of wine at night, you feel like you have a hangover the next day because of how it impedes your sleep. And many people believe that if you have a glass of wine or whiskey before bed, it's going to knock you out. It does, but then it prevents you from getting into deep sleep and that restorative REM sleep. And then you get that inflammation, which you're saying is the brain fog. So inflammation, brain fog. You get the aches and pains, you get the heavy periods, like everything we put into our body, it does impact us. Whether or not it's on your skin, like you're saying in the office, you don't know what chemicals maybe they're using, it affects your skin, you absorb it. Everything has its part. So I just really had one more question for you before I let you go. This has been a real pleasure, and I think my followers are going to love it. I know because of the issues you've had with your menstrual cycle and aches and pains because of food choices and the pandemic and everything, you had some experience with the medical system there, some appointments that you needed to attend, some checkups and whatnot. How did they go with the situation? Did you find they weren't as good as they used to be? Was nobody on their game, or are they on the top of their game? Did you get the answers you were looking for? Do you think the pandemic played a part in the answers and the experience? Like, I just like this feedback.
I don't think the pandemic and COVID had any impact on any of the conversations and appointments that I had during this whole time. We have two systems in Ireland. We have the public system for healthcare and we have a private system for healthcare. So the public system, there's long delays, long waits. So, for example, I wanted to see my consultant in a public hospital where I had my children. So I wanted to go back to him because he was my doctor during my pregnancies and my deliveries, to talk to him about consistent pain I'd been having in my, what I thought was my like sciatic nerve. So I had that through my first pregnancy, and then as you know, it really flares up during my menstrual period. It's like I can't walk. It's horrendous. So I was on the public list, and I got a letter back to say there would be a 360-day wait to see the consultant. Which I said, you know, I give it a few months and just see. But then it got to the point where things were getting worse. And I was like, you know, I have private healthcare, which I'm lucky enough to have because my employer pays for it. So I went through the private healthcare model. And during the height of the pandemic in Ireland, the government took control of the private hospitals, which meant any appointments that you would have would be covered by the government, which is great. So like when you go to see a consultant in Ireland privately, you pay up front and then you claim a certain amount of it back from your private healthcare. So they were covering all appointments during the height of the pandemic, which is great, but that's stopped now. But when I met the consultant gynecologist, I guess she was, and when I've had conversations with two separate female doctors, all female doctors, so you would assume that they have experience with what you're going through. And all approaches, all conversations were hormones. Take what we have here is the pill, or get the coil. I think you guys have the coil as well, or whatever. That will help with your heavy flows or with pain and things that you're having. You know, I've tried to avoid that stuff for years because it just it affects my well-being. I just feel I'm not myself. I'm very irritable. I'm very down. I just don't like taking any of that stuff. So like the advice that you had given me was better than what the physician could tell me, because they're just trying to push drugs on you. They couldn't explain to me the pain I'm having in my lower back and down into my leg, primarily during my cycle, which is, it's worse, like. But I was referred to a physio who specializes in women's physio cares, particularly the pelvic floor and things like that after you've had children. And she has been fantastic. And she has found the root of the problem, and it is muscular. And she herself is she's a consultant Pilates instructor, like and physiotherapy and things like that. And from having the knowledge that you've given me about inflammation and hormones and why is that pain worse during my cycle and things like that. So I was able to have that kind of conversation with her, and she was like, yeah, it's like an elastic band, this particular muscle that I have this pain. When I'm during having my period and the estrogen is increasing and things like that, um normally it's relaxed, but then that kind of estrogen and the inflammation, causes extra pressure on, and things begin to stretch, and particularly after having the kids, and the relaxing goes through your body and everything stretches and things like that. So that's why this for me is worse during that period of time. So she has prescribed me Pilates and muscle building and massage and things like that. Like, the kind of pain I have is kind of gonna be there forever unless I manage it. It's not gonna go away with a wonder drug or things like that. So on one hand, the doctors were kind of, they're just trying to throw the drugs at you. Take the pill make everything better, take the pill. I'm like, I don't want to take the pill. And they're like, well, give us your money and go away and don't come back again. Whereas the physiotherapy, which I find are a little bit more holistic, they're closer to, you know, natural
Natural.
remedies and things like that. She was like, no, this is muscular and this is estrogen and this is inflammation and this is how you address it. Um, so I've gotten luckily to the bottom of that, but I'm still, I'm, as you know, like my cycle is up and down. Um, so I'm still learning, and I'm still managing it. I'm working my way through losing weight, because that has an impact, I feel, on my cycle, and then obviously what I put into my body. So I'm going to do an awful lot of that for the next, say, 6 months. And if I get to, say, my optimum weight and I'm really taking care of myself and I'm still having issues, then I'll probably go back to the consultant gynecologist and have that conversation again. Because if I've tried everything at that point and it's still not working, there must be something else.
I think we both know that if you did everything consistently for the 6 months, that you wouldn't be going back to the specialist.
Mm.
So you have like a good team. You have your physio there, and then you also have me, who I'll continue to work with the estrogen and the inflammation. So I'm confident, again, with consistency, you will get there. I think a takeaway for many people is what you put into your body is going to impact you. And with the way everything's going now, our best defense, not just against a virus, but against life and how we feel in ourselves and how capable we are to manage life, is to become our own kind of healthcare system where we take care of ourselves. We learn what our body likes, we know what to put into our body, we reach out for help to professionals like you did. And then when we can doctor ourselves, we will have more tools and better capability of dealing with whatever comes towards us over the next few months.
Mm.
So this was a great chat. I think my followers are going to love this, because you give the opposite perspective to what I would give. We're like yin and yang.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
So you're giving people like that peek into a life that they will probably relate to more, which is hard for me to do when I say, well, I can say no, or I can go to the gym, or the people are like, that's not realistic. So for a few of us it is, it's just the way God made us, but I feel you do give more of a realistic view. And um, again, like taking care of one's health, I think is going to it's going to prevent a lot of negatives down the road, and it's going to prevent you having to go see specialists and go into hospitals or clinics where there's a higher likelihood that you would catch something as well. So and
Mm-hmm.
when we take care of ourselves, this is the last point, when we take care of ourselves, we build confidence and trust in ourselves. We feel stronger, we feel more capable. We're like, I know I've got my own back. And that then ripples down to, I know I'm not going to kill the kids, or I know I can do this, or I know, like, we build that confidence within ourselves that whatever comes our way, we totally got this.
Yeah, but trial and error and consistency, and don't be afraid or embarrassed to have it slip up now and again, because we're human and we're parents, and like, you're super at it and you're much more controlled at these things than I am. I might just be that bit more of an emotional person, where if I'm having a really bad day and I feel like the only way I can chill out is a glass of wine, I'm gonna do it. But I'm not tell you about it, but I'm gonna do it. But if that's just now and again, for me, I'm like, that's life. It's now and again. It's not a consistent thing. If it becomes a consistent thing, then it's a problem. And you really do need to talk to somebody. But I think a bit more, you know, empathy and understanding with people. Yeah, all of us, with every people, all the other people in our lives who are going through different struggles, that we can't all be the same. So what might work for you might not work for somebody else. But at the same time, as you're saying, you do need to take control of your own health and not be dependent on the healthcare, and don't just take the pill because they're telling you it's the right thing to do.
Mhm. I think we'll leave it at that. That last line that you said, and that once in a while is okay, but when we start to do it every day or every night, it becomes a problem. That's the key takeaway. I think we need to take not just out of the pandemic, but out of life, because if it's not a pandemic, it's going to be something else that stresses us. So once in a
True.
while, okay, we all need that break, but not every day, because you will come to regret it. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure. It's dark there where you are. It's 2 p.m. here. So you
Nighttime.
best be getting your evening routine on and getting to bed. No wine, no movie. And I will chat to you soon, probably later in a text. But thank you
Hmm.
for making the time. I know with the time changing kids, it was a bit of a struggle, but you did it, and I'm very grateful. Yeah.
Rev Mahagot.
Okay, slán leat.
Long
Bye.